Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Spy Party Competitive League Season 5. The main season has come to a close, and we are in the postseason now, covering the Tournament of Position, which we are in the third round of. Joining me today is my co-caster, Opie Wrights.
Why, hello there.
And so for those of you who don't know, the way the Tournament of Position works is the top two players from all of the lower divisions are entered into it, as well as the bottom two players of gold. The gold players are fighting to hold on to their spots, while everyone else is fighting to climb up and steal those spots from the gold players. But they can also climb up and reach available spots in silver, bronze, and copper. Now, for both of the players we have today, Pox and Duckett, they lost their match last week. So they won in week 1 and they lost in week 2. And that means gold is no longer available to them. However, both of these players are still in the running for 4th place in the tournament, which would earn them a spot in silver. Now, Opie, can you tell me a little bit about how these players did during the season?
Yeah, Pox made it out of a really, really difficult bronze division. Uh, Only third place, which in this case was good enough. You did mention that top two of each division lower than gold gets in, but in fact, in this case, bronze got the top three just because Shep, the first place in bronze, instead opted to auto promote into silver to guarantee that spot without having to play in the tournament of position. So Pox got a kind of snuck in there, but in bronze, that's barely sneaking in there. You have to do really well in bronze to get that third place.
Yeah, and so
And
Iron
as
is one of the lower divisions in the league, isn't it?
yeah, iron is just I think just above the halfway mark in terms of anything below gold. So it's silver, bronze, and then it's iron right after that. Um, and so iron is it's up. It's not up there necessarily, but it is kind of that center point between the very lowest and the highest divisions there are. So it's kind of middling in that sense, but you still have to win the division. And in a division with 13 people, if you're getting top two, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, and so I would say Pox is definitely a very, very known quantity, a very, very consistent player, both as sniper and as spy. Whereas for Duckett, I mean, this is why the tournament of position exists, to take someone who is newer, untested, and see how they can hold up. Let's take a look at the picks and bans for these players. The bans coming in, Pox starts by banning Terrace and Duckett has banned Aquarium.
The terrorist pick is a bit of the terrorist ban in this case is a bit of a meme, but it's also very true that the iron players, I believe there's also one other division that likes terrorists a lot. It might be Obsidian.
It's Challenger.
Uh,
It's really
it's
just Iron
Challenger.
and Challenger. You can count on one hand the number of people who've chosen Terrace in every other division. But meanwhile, in Iron and Challenger, there are dozens and dozens of games of Terrace played. And Pox was just up against Coddy last week, who was the top of Iron, and also banned Terrace there. In fact, the lower seeds in this tournament have been picking Terrace quite consistently and have honestly been getting pretty good results on it.
Yeah, speaking of last week, Pox losing to Coddy, kind of an unexpected result, seeing as the relative strength, rather relative expected strength of bronze just tends to be a bit higher than iron. Coddy doing very well to bring up that upset. In this case, Pox going up against the second place in iron this time around in Duckett, see if he can do a little bit better against the Iron Throne.
Yeah, and so for Duckett banning Aquarium, it's pretty standard. It doesn't seem to be something that Duckett is super comfortable on. In fact, Duckett was banning Taeyen and then just started banning Aquarium as soon as it came out, so maybe not comfortable with the newer maps. But what both of these players are comfortable with is 5/8s. And so from Duckett, we have Library, and from Pox, we have Moderne.
Yeah, 5 of 8 venues. They're kind of, in a way, uh, they're picks if you think that you're the favorite, just because there's a lot more control on the sniper side, and if you think you control the sniper side and then abuse the spy side, it's a very strong pick. Library a little bit more than Modern in this case, just because Modern is very, very heavily sniper favored, while Library has a little bit of more spy agency going on.
Yeah, and these are these players' most common picks, so we're definitely going to be seeing players going where they are most comfortable. But what really interests me is the second set of picks here, because we're veering in a very different direction. Duckett single picks high rise, and then Pox single picks balcony, of all things.
And that is surprising because I do expect the single pick of high rise from Duckett. I'm not super surprised about that, but the single pick of balcony to kind of complement that from Pox is very, very surprising. Usually, those swingy venues are picked by people who see themselves as the underdog, but balcony here from Pox, and I'm not sure if he's seeing himself as an underdog, but that doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah, and Pox really doesn't pick balcony very often, only has 5 games of balcony played throughout this season. And when you talk about the high rise pick not being surprising, it's actually Pox who consistently picks high rise as one of his common picks and has an amazing spy win rate of 80% on it. Duckett doesn't usually pick high rise, and so I'm worrying that Duckett was sort of picking something that his opponent wanted to see. And for the final single picks, we have Veranda from Duckett and then Courtyard from Pox. We're sort of boomeranging right back over to standard picks, aren't we?
Yeah, and this is the strategy that Warning Track likes to talk about a lot. One of our fellow casters is if you think you're going to have an advantage going into the last few venues, pick those sniper favored. I'm going to get at least one of these games and close out this set. And both of these players kind of picking for that right now.
Yeah, and just to clarify, Duckett was the first pick, so even though Duckett is on the right column, we are going to be starting with Library, and that means the set is going to end in Courtyard. A lot of people think Courtyard is sniper favored and will, just trade one win as sniper to another win as sniper. And so if the set comes down to one player having the lead going into Courtyard, whoever has that lead might be able to just easily hold on to it. So the crux of this match is really going to come down to those single picks in the middle, high rise and balcony. That's where things could swing either way, and whoever takes a lead there should be able to hold on to it going into the final matches. And so we're going to be starting on Library with Pox playing as Kane, also known as Papa Danger, and starting in 3, 2, 1, planet.
Yeah, we'll see what Pox can do on the spy side of this pick. Kind of rushes that book out of the bookcase.
Yeah, that's going to be a microfilm happening. The question is, did Duckett see it? But Duckett just looks to be looking all over the map, tracking a few other things right now, and so I think Pox might have gotten away with ripping this book out clean.
Yeah, the only problem is that Duckett will be able to see the fact that Pox is holding on to a book. There is value to hiding that book behind, another character or a pillar somehow, and just kind of out of sight, out of mind. This character, did they have a book ever? Well, now Duckett is sure. Papa Danger has this book. Maybe not sure where it came from, but so that could pick up some suspicion on the putback.
Yeah, the problem is that our first flirt is over here at 31%. We really could have gotten closer to Wheels there. There wasn't really a need to stay that far away from him on Library. I just don't think Duckett is going to be flirt pairing that closely, and even if he was, this little, tiny pixel step doesn't make a difference. Now we're at 63%, which means we're not going to be able to finish with another white flirt. And here goes the book into yellow, and wow, Duckett low-lighting us for a second as we put it back in, and then seemingly thinking, well, wait, I actually don't remember where that came from, but the fact that Pox isn't highlit suggests that Pox has gotten away with it. It's just going to be a question of, is Kane going to stick in Duckett's mind because of that confusion?
Well, what that looks like to me actually is an accidental low light while trying to mark the book as yellow. Because after the low light into neutral light, Duckett did mark that book yellow and did not seem to have any kind of suspicions about where that book came from. So Pox probably just got away with a free mission. However, there has been, 2 minutes burned for it.
Yeah, that's sort of the problem with microfilm. If you do the animations, it's 2 bookshelf visits. It takes quite a long time, but even taking a book out and waiting for the sniper to forget where it came from can take some time as well. There's the flirt finally being finished to 100% as we had Toby behind us. Could have been an ignore if we didn't get that reject in really quickly while we were in the middle of talking. Now I'm wondering what Pox is going to do for the last 3 missions. It's good that we got away with the hard tell clean, but we are still going to need to do one more, especially because I don't know if we can get fingerprints with 2 minutes left. It might start to get a little dicey.
Well, something you could consider as POC serious contact and then immediately step into center statues to inspect swap. Inspect swapping at this early in the game is very hard to catch on to for Duckett, but we'll see if Pox can make it, make these missions happen. It is just one option. Pox still has a little bit of time, even if a lot of the time on this venue has been elapsed already.
Yeah, and it looks like we're just waiting for a good time to contact. The double agent is in the middle of talking, so he's not going to be leaving just yet. And we're finally going for the contact here. It might not be the ideal one, but Pox has decided that it's best. There are a few other conversations with a decent amount of people in it. And so
Yeah,
Duckett
yeah.
reacts by going around the
So
party, trying to get as many lowlights as he can, but not getting a ton of them.
you mentioned that the double agent was talking, and unfortunately, because of that fact, when we white BB'd, we interrupted the double agent, and the double agent has 3 different options when we interrupt him. He could stay in the conversation, just keep talking. He could stop talking, or he can leave without ever stop talking. And that's exactly what he does, which means that we don't have that contact.
No, and so Pox decided that a time ab was really the only way to get out of that without getting the progression from the contact there. We walked in next to the ambassador at statues. It almost looked like a bug path. We tried to get a fingerprint off the statue. It was a difficult one. It didn't take. And now Pox is in trouble. Does have the inspects, but only a minute left to do 2 more missions. And with a center statue highlight, Pox is definitely going to be very notable doing 2 more missions right now.
Yeah, it's gonna be difficult. Big highlight on his back now, and despite that progress earlier, is running out of time. If not for that time, this game would be 10 seconds away from being over. Pox trying to get the actual contact this time.
Yeah, we're going for it. It's a split with really good timing, passing by the ambassador and taking the bug right after doing it, and it doesn't look like Duckett was onto it. Not onto the split, not onto the bug, no shot coming off, and despite the lack of progress that Pox seemingly had, he brought it back thanks to that time ad and gets the first win as Spy.
Yeah, the very quick ending there, going from 3 missions to 5, just immediately with the green test on the contact, allowing a split right into this bug, which as Duckett you kind of have to credit. It's hard to see. There's a little bit of a tell where the character's arm is no longer swinging, but it's super hard to see, and I don't blame them for missing it. It's just something that you maybe have to credit, and if you're not onto the microfilm, you don't want to shoot for that, and
Yeah,
Pox gets away with it.
the timing of the banana bread was fantastic. We left really the instant it happened without even a single delay, and the arm is just really hard to see, even though it was on screen. So very, very well done to Pox. And we head into Duckett's turn as Spy, playing as Duke in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Starting in the exact same spot that Pox did in his spy game. Unfortunately, we're not, or unfortunately, I say, we're not actually getting that early book out. Like Pox said, it's not necessarily unfortunate though. It's just a different decision. We do try to go for that bug into this conversation early, but it doesn't take.
No, and now we're stuck in a useless conversation. There's really nothing we want here. We want the briefcase, but Duckett apparently felt that it would be too obvious to chase after it right away, and instead is taking a very short path. Spies love short paths into the side statues here, picking up a highlight, but actually going for a green swap before even doing the inspects, putting it down without getting any inspects at all. Your hope when you do that is that you weren't seen at the statue, but the laser moved right over you. You got the highlights, so Duckett definitely knows that he was seen there. Now it's going to be a question of, was Pox looking for this early swap? Is Pox going to look at the statue as Queen has it in her hands? And the
Oh,
answer is
look at that.
yes.
That is a lot of leaning. I'm really surprised that there's so much attention being paid to that statue so early and just takes the shot.
I'm surprised as well. I mean, Pox was basically just looking at that statue to the exclusion of pretty much everything else. He must have really had a strong feeling that something was going to happen there, which makes sense. If someone goes to a statue really quickly after someone else, you have reason to watch it because that could be a green swap, but it's still really, really great intuition from Pox. The ambassador was also on that side of the venue, so it makes sense that Pox's eyes would be there, as well as Toby.
Yeah, I mean, it lines up well, so he doesn't have to miss too much while looking at that swap. But I'm just shocked that he was watching that fade, especially this early on in a library game. Even if like you don't necessarily have to watch the fade, you can just narrow it down. You can like decide I'm gonna look at this later and narrow it down to two if I need to,
Yeah,
and
just
then choke them out of the game. But Pox on top of the fade knows exactly who it is and goes up immediately 2-0.
Yeah, such a high, high confidence level. And now Pox is going to be spying again as general, starting in three, two, one, playing it.
Will we see an instant bug?
Ooh! Pox
Nope.
took control. He was almost ready for it, but it's really hard to take control that quickly and then, right click, especially if we might have had the option to do a contact because the SDA was in with us. So I don't blame Pox for not being able to take it there.
Yeah, it's the players do not get to see the opening moments of the game for as long as us casters do in the replays. So it's not surprising that Pox was not able to take that immediate bug. Does take it, taking control a little bit too late for it to happen, and the AI control lands him in that conversation anyways. So no bug, but we do have an early flirt.
Yeah, and so last game, what we saw from Pox as Spy was, immediate progress at the start with a book, then a lack of progress in the middle, followed by amazing quick progress at the end. This time, we're not starting off with an early book, and I wonder if Pox is already feeling a little bit behind because of that, maybe planning to do a timeout over here at this back window, but decides against it, going to pass by the ambassador and take a bug. The laser was not on it. Sniper was looking at the other half of the venue, and by the time it pans over, Pox is already alone in this conversation. No suspicion for this bug.
Yeah, there was just not no part of that path was on camera at all. The bug was not on camera. Not any single didn't leaving the window not on camera. Getting to that conversation not on camera. So a little bit of not exactly on top of the rotations there from Duckett. Pox tries to do the same kind of thing with a cheese briefcase. Unfortunately, it's a difficult fingerprint and he doesn't hit it.
Yeah, Pox
Uh,
has not been hitting a lot of green tests. He was trying to get a difficult fingerprint in the first game as well and failed at it. That's gotta hurt, but luckily he got away with the bug clean. 2.5 minutes left on the clock. The flirt is nearly done. The contact shouldn't be too hard. Do you think Pox is gonna go for more fingerprints after that briefcase, or does he think that he was seen for it and maybe credited with one anyway?
yeah, I think if Pox thinks he was seen, there's no way he goes for any more. If he had hit the fingerprint, he still would. Luckily, he does help us out a little bit with the pacing. Ambassador is kind of walking next to us. We don't exactly like that though. We are talking, so it's obviously we're not bugging, and we leave the conversation just to avoid any appearance of impropriety with the ambassador.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that some snipers can shoot for. I got shot once because I walked away from the ambassador as soon as they entered next to me by Ascend Beyond, and he said, yes, it looked like you didn't want to be seen near the ambassador. I was very salty about that. And here's another banana split happening, this one going into the center statues, and just like the first time, wasn't really on screen. Duckett seemingly not low lighting for it, not highlighting for it. If it had gone into some sort of hardtail, Pox probably would have gotten away with it, but instead
Now
it's
this
just
could
into
be
these
our
center
inspect swap.
inspects.
No
Could be
inspect swap from Pox.
Pox decides against it. Maybe he
Oh,
was just worried that
here's our
if
swap.
he swapped, it would have been a 3-cycle. Now we're going into the side statue and swapping. The laser's on the other side, but that statue is visible for a moment there as Duckett looks over, but Duckett doesn't register that the statue changed in time. No shot, and Pox goes up 3-0 with another spy win.
Yeah, Pox really taking control of this set. Duckett not really on anything that Pox is doing right now. Library just perhaps not, the pick right now. Was this Pox's pick or was this Duckett's pick? I forget.
No, this was Duckett's pick.
Yeah,
So
that's really surprising to me because someone who likes Library should be pretty used to all of the move, having to move about and look around to gather all of the information throughout the game. And Duckett is just not on it this set as sniper. So now Pox just wants to close this out for a 4-0 on Duckett's pick to
Starting
try, yeah.
in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And as I was saying, 4-0 on Duckett's pick to just and on the sniper side, generally speaking, that's an advantage, especially on library. So Pox, I think, has a good shot at being able to just close this out 4-0 and going forward on your opponent's venue. It's not just strong because of how far ahead you are. It's strong because there is this psychological component of your opponent thinking, "Oh my god, I just got destroyed on my own venue." And
And
here's a
Duckett
white pearl in
needs
from
to
Duckett.
bring it back. Goes for a hard tell early. We have not been seeing that a lot from either of these players, and that was not on screen at all. I mean, we haven't really been seeing early hard tells like that. Pox wasn't looking for it, but is able to correctly lowlight the entire other half of the party. Good news for Duckett is I don't think he's necessarily the top suspect for it, but unfortunately that party is way too narrowed down for Duckett to get away with much more at this point.
Yeah, it's gonna be really difficult for Duckett to make these mission wins happen when all of these lowlets have been taken. Puck's completely on top of who could have done this purloin. Pretty much only that conversation, and Duckett is the one big highlight for that center statues right now, and we only have 2 missions done. 2 more missions to come if we can get those flirt and contacts off, but how does Duckett finish missions here? I feel like it's got to be some kind of insanely good bug that Pox is not willing to credit.
Yeah, the other thing that Duckett needs is for this party to start doing things. There are only a few other neutral lights. It would be fantastic if one of them at least went to center statues. That would open up a possibility to maybe go swap for them. I mean, I think bringing it to a 50-50 could almost be the best chance Duckett has at this point, because just going for straightforward mission completion, it's not going to go very well.
Yeah, it's gonna be difficult because at this point, I think that you have to rush down this flirt, rush down this contact, and find that last hard tell before the sniper is really expecting it. Unfortunately, we can't get that last flirt, or ST bails on us.
Oh, that's really unfortunate for Duckett. Now there's just 2 minutes left. You are going to need 2 more flirts unless you hit a green flirt. You are still going to need the contact. And the problem with the party already being so narrowed down is that if you contact, you're probably going to let off even more lowlights, narrow it down even more. In fact, I think Duckett's best hope might be to somehow finish without a contact. I think the best game plan here would be to sneak a bug in, finish the seduce, and then maybe just go swap for one of those other neutral lights who goes to statues. And Duckett probably doesn't even know who those neutral lights are.
So something underrated right now about just idling this game out is making Pox worry that his rather his lowlights may not have been entirely accurate. When you take all of those position lowlights for that purloin, that whole left side just got lowlit by Pox. And you see the party start to slow down. No one's really doing anything. You start to wonder,
Banana bread.
was it actually just
And as
this?
soon as the banana bread comes off, Duckett just gets shot, and that's just a consequence of not a lot of other people making themselves suspects. But go ahead, what
Yeah,
were
I
you
mean,
saying?
I mean,
Sorry, I just
I
mean,
was
yeah.
I was talking about how idling this out and slowing down the party might be a good idea for Duckett just to make Pox doubt those lowlights,
Banana
but
bread.
unfortunately, Pox seemed very very confident, no doubt in their mind, and willing to shoot for 4 missions even.
Yeah,
Banana
I'm.
bread.
I mean, I'm not surprised. There was just no one else doing anything, and like you said, there's either two options in that case. It's no one's doing anything. Maybe I low lit the spy, or just I have that highlight for center statues, and that just makes the most sense. And what are the chances that a banana bread comes off right after that character enters conversation anyway, if they're not the spy? And so with that, Pox takes Library 4-0. Pox is at a huge, huge lead here, and Pox, as the higher seed, only needs to get to 8 wins, 8 points to win the set. And now we're heading into Moderne, which was Pox's pick, and it's not something that Duckett picks or plays very often. Starting in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, Modern Statistically, a little bit more sniper party than library, but it still does allow spy wins on occasion. We go for this instant swap.
That's a
I'm not
bold
sure it's
play.
noticed.
I mean, when
I'm
you're
not.
as ahead as Pox is, I don't know if you need to go for a risky play like that, but there's just so much other activity in this party. There are so many statue visitors. There's a medium-sized bar rush, people at shelves as well, and Duckett just was not checking to see if that statue changed. The question is, did Duckett memorize the statues in the first place? Because if he did, then at some point he can see it's changed and narrow down the party to the statue highlights, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen, and in fact, he might not even look at the statue again until someone else visits it.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, maybe doesn't need to go for these high aggression plays, but I think being up 4-0, perhaps you're just more comfortable with going for those high aggression plays, and those high aggression plays they are risky, but when they work, they work. You absolutely can just kind of ghost someone, get past them without ever really being a suspect. Uh, and that could be very, very strong for Pox here, especially if this swap was not memorized in time. Pox could just absolutely dunk on this spy game.
Yeah, and we're really seeing the importance of memorizing those statues early. I mean, sometimes you think you can get away with not doing it because players don't really like to swap often. There are a lot of games where you could totally get away with never memorizing the statues and not have a problem at all, but you still have to do it every time because then when the one time that your opponent does an early swap happens, you need to be ready for it. Pox is now finishing the inspect, picking up a fingerprint at the same time, and just has a ton of mission progress. And we're really not sure if Pox is high on Duckett's radar at all for any of this.
Well, I'm not a big fan of going back to the second statue visit that early, just because it kind of just puts a big old dollop of extra suspicion right on your head as soon as you do it, just because a lot of snipers kind of rely on those statue visits to assign suspicion, and Duckett looks like not any different than a lot of those snipers right now. So I think Pox is probably the biggest suspect in this party, despite having that hardtail completely clean. We do get a green fingerprint off our drink, though, which means we only need Seduce and a contact to finish up these missions. And even though we are such a big suspect, I don't think we ever get shot for just contact as far as Duckett's concerned. So, despite what I was saying about Pox being a really big suspect right now, I just don't see Duckett shooting.
Yeah, I
As long
mean,
as Pox doesn't, like, completely flub everything.
oh, and the double
So.
agent returns to us. They left
Oh,
when we entered the
come
conversation for the
on!
first time. The
Come
seduction target,
on!
too? I mean, everything is
What?
working out so well for Pox here, and with there's no way you have the mission count of the difficult drink print from the bar, probably not. Doesn't have the mission count of the swap, and that means there's almost no reason to take the shot from the banana bread unless you're feeling behind and jumpy,
That's
and
just
Duckett is not going to take it.
that's just so mean. What? The double agent and seduction target get mind controlled to our conversation so we can finish our missions without having to move an inch. And Pox is up 5-0.
Yeah, I mean, like we were saying, this is a lesson in statue memorization. You let the spy get away with a statue early, and that meant you were just never going to have the mission count needed to shoot them, even if you were on top of the prince, which you weren't. It was just a completely dominant spy game from Pox. Didn't even need the help of the mind control, but got it anyway. And now we're going to see Pox sniping and Duckett spying as general, starting in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And there is just a very big worry for Duckett here that there's a good chance this ends up 6-0.
Oh!
Oh.
6-0.
6-0
Tried.
in
I mean,
Pox's
I don't
favor.
blame Duckett for going for that chaos bug. The ambassador was walking right to us, and Duckett correctly had the instincts to be able to go for the bug there, but unfortunately the arm comes out straight on screen, and Pox was watching that ambassador in the time of chaos, as he should, and that's what we were just seeing last time. Duckett didn't know how to handle the time of chaos, didn't memorize the statues properly, and lost because of it. Meanwhile, Pox does know how to handle the time of chaos and was able to catch that bug. And now Pox is up 6-0. I mean, my god, this could end up being a sweep in the
Yeah,
tournament of position if this keeps up.
yeah, you don't see sweeps very often in SCL. They're very, very rare. just because it's very difficult to, play 7 games or 8 games, 7 games in the regular season, 8 or 9 games in the tournament of position right now without dropping one of them. But Pox has not dropped one yet. And unfortunately, you mentioned that Duckett had the instincts to go for this reverse drive-by bug in the time of chaos, but not quite the instincts honed yet to realize this is not going to take the ambassador is going to curve away due to the conversation, and it's going to be kind of waving at the sniper. And unfortunately, Pox is on top of it. Duckett just not able to make a spy win happen, and now Pox has an overwhelming advantage, could drop so many games in a row and still be in the lead, but right now trying to just close it out with a perfect set.
Yeah, and I mean, I would love to see a perfect set happen. It's not that I'm rooting for anyone in particular, but when someone's already up 6-0, I'm really curious to see if Pox is going to be able to pull it out. But he would need another spy win on Modern, and despite what we saw, those are tough to come by. Starting in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, it's really, really tough on Modern, but we are going to go for an instant watch check time, time out of here just to get that extra time. Modern is a big venue, has a lot to do with walking around, so I'm not surprised that Pox wants that extra time coming into this early game, and Duckett doesn't seem to be on it.
No, the laser was right on us as we did it, but Duckett doesn't seem to have checked the clock. I mean, if he was watching for the time ad there, Pox would certainly be dead, so it looks like Pox has gotten away with it. Now we're
Yeah,
taking out
it's
a book here from Blue. Just judging by what we saw from Pox on Library, I have no doubt that that book is not going to be returned to Blue. We're probably going to see Pox just wait a little bit. You have a lot of time thanks to the time ad. You could wait maybe a minute or so before going to return it. And while you're doing that, you can get your flirt done. Nice green one, all the way up to 51%. Pox shouldn't be running into any issues for time.
Yeah, so something I like that Pox is doing right now is kind of hiding himself behind his ST. And even though it's not really that consequential, you're not doing anything suspicious behind them, just the fact that you're out of sight, it's always that same old adage, out of sight, out of mind, for these players sometimes,
And we
or
have the
these spies sometimes.
contact coming off here. There are really not many lowlights available. You can see the conversations, they still haven't really moved. They all have an SDA in them, and they all have a lot of people. I mean, this Banana Bread only let off 4 lowlights in the entire party, and that's just an even bigger advantage for Pox here.
Yeah, that kind of a contact on Modern is extremely powerful. Just because usually there's a few more people out of conversation, you don't always get every single SDA in on those big conversations. But in this case, Pox just gets a great contact and now is returning kind of behind a conversation. So again, that out of sight, out of mind, we're returning into green, and I don't think that this is like at all on Duckett's radar.
No, the book just slides back in. Now we have the contact done. We have the microfilm done. We can't enter right next to the seduction target, but thanks to the early green, it's not a major problem. And there are still 30 minutes, 30 seconds,
30, 30
3 minutes. There are still 3 minutes on the clock. The flirt's at 96%. That's not a problem. We're still going to be able to go in for another one and find time to do 2 more missions. Meanwhile, thanks to the time ad, not only do we have more time, but all of the guests have more time to start getting inspects and fingerprints as well and turning themselves into suspects. We're getting the print off the drink here, and then we are also going to have the option to get the print off the briefcase. In fact, we should be obligated to go for it. We're right next to it, and no one else is going for it unless Taft gets it first, and he doesn't. That's 2 prints in a row, and that's not really necessary. You had 3 minutes. You could have spaced your prints out, so it is sort of a worry here that Duckett could be on top of the double prints.
Well, on the one hand, it's not necessary, but on the other hand, it's exactly what an AI would do if they were in that. If they had just randomly gone to bar in that situation, they pick up both prints regardless. So it's not the most suspicious. Like it's not like you're going from statue print to book print. It is just had to get this print because the briefcase is next to me and I went to bar, so I have these prints. Now Pox is doing something I like a lot, finishing off missions with this purloin. and Purloin is such a hard mission to get by on Modern if the sniper is on top of who's at the bar, except as the last mission because the sniper only has 10 seconds and there's 6 seconds left on this timer. 5 seconds, 4 seconds. I don't think this has been seen yet.
Ooh, and the
Duckett
shot is coming
takes
off
the
on
shot.
Teal. I didn't think a shot would come off at all. I think, like you were saying, the timing of the Purloin was really good to make the sniper say, okay, I can maybe narrow it down. Let's just see what they do next. But it looks like Duckett did have a sense that Pox could be finishing missions there, but really wasn't sure who sent to Teal, and so just said, you know what, I'm just going to pray that it was a direct Purloin because I don't have a good handle on this party, and that's my only way out.
Yeah, Teal was also a highlight, so very, very nice target picking from Pox if that was intentional. Uh, and that's just, that's 7 in a row now. And in the regular season, that would just be the set, but Pox needs one more. But Pox has, get this, 9 match points.
9 match points, and he could just take it right here. I mean, if you look at Pox's stats on Modern, he has an 80% sniper win rate, and even just based on how the rest of this set is going, I wouldn't be surprised to see Pox take one more win here and end with a sweep before we even get to the middle section. But I will remind you, the middle section of this set is high rise and balcony. So if we do get there, Duckett would have the chance to start mounting a comeback. But either way, let's see if this is the final game. Duckett as Orange Sorry, starting in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
I think at this point in the set, that mentality thing comes into it. Duckett down so far. How are you feeling? You've got to be feeling a little bit fatigued. You've been just losing your game so far. And how do you put yourself into a mental state to mount a comeback right here, right now? That's such a difficult thing to do, but Duckett needs to do it if he's going to stay in for silver.
Yeah, and you know what makes it even more difficult is doing it as Orange Sorry. We have the whole chat, reacting here, wondering, oh my god, Duckett, why did you pick such a slow character on the map where it's already hard to move around? I mean, it could be random, could be on purpose as sort of a Yomi thing, but either way, you're picking up the early highlight for statues, and that's going to make it even harder. It's going to be really, really easy for Pox to notice if Orange Sorry is moving around a ton, and that's what she's going to have to do if she wants to get missions done.
Yeah, and really, it's just super difficult for Duckett to be able to it's Modern already in terms of spy. Pox has that 80% win rate, as you said. There's no way we could have taken that bug. Pox was watching for it, and we were talking at the same time, so we had broken that animation. So lots of things. Duckett's trying to look for these openings, but there just aren't any right now, and we're a big highlight.
No, and you have to think, is Duckett playing as if the whole set comes down to this? Because Duckett literally cannot take another loss right now, and when I see a player in that situation as Spy, I expect to maybe see some bold or risky plays because, look, what you've been doing hasn't been working, and a slow game as a slow character on this slow map is also not going to work. But despite the early statue visit, all we have is a flirt. Now just 2.5 minutes left on the clock. Looking like Duckett's going to want to go for a delegate here, but there just hasn't been a steady stream of people at the bar. Instead, we're just immediately taking it. I believe that was Queen next to us. We're trying to make it look like Queen sent us to take this drink. The reaction from Pox, not super large, and here it is finally coming off. Some lowlights looking a little bit tentative on it. The problem is that means Duckett is putting himself among a very, very small pool. A lot of lowlights finally coming off. Queen, who he tried to frame, is not a highlight, though. She's just a neutral light. We're still the only highlight, as well as Disney, who's just picking it up for going to statues. It looks like Pox is pretty on top of this.
Yeah, you say tentative, I say careful. Getting that, that count of who's been to bar in his head, just thinking, okay, who's been to bar? Low light. You haven't been to bar. Low light. You haven't been to bar. Low light. You haven't been to bar. Okay, you've been to bar. You can stay neutral. And over this time, you're down to now five AIs, 5 party goers. It's a 5 person party on Modern, and you only have 2 missions done. That is such a difficult
Duckett wants to get this bug here, tries to do it as passing by the ambassador, and gets seen, doesn't even take, gets a shot, and with that, we have seen the first sweep in the tournament of position. Pox 8-0. We don't get to see high rise. We don't get to see balcony. and nothing Duckett did was working.
Yeah, Duckett. Unfortunately, this is why I don't like those early purloins on Modern. You just give the sniper so much information about who the spy is. It can only be these one of these handful of people, coming down into this, and suddenly it's just looking bad. You've narrowed it down to at best like 5 or 6 people early in the game. That's why purloin late on Modern is the only real option, honestly, in my opinion. But
Yeah, doing it early just
unfortunately for
narrowed it
Duckett,
down too much.
not able to convert any spy wins, any sniper wins. Pox just completely on point today.
Yeah, I'm just
And
going back and looking at sort of this moment that seemed to sort of
uh,
signal how the rest of the set would go when Pox got away with that amazing green BB split into a bug. Just showed spy dominance from the start. And then, of course, showing that sniper dominance in the very next game as well when he was just so on top of that statue being swapped. I'm not surprised to see it end this way. Well, I'm a little bit surprised, but not as surprised as I would be because Pox was just dominating right from the start. Unfortunate for Duckett. It was a well fought battle, but just outplayed. And that's how it goes sometimes.
yeah, and that's it. Yeah, that's just the cast. That is 8 games, the shortest any set could possibly be.
And you know what this
With
means? It means Pox is now going on to play me next week. This is what I have to beat if I want to reach silver.
Yeah, I don't have fun with that, buddy.
But Pox has at least guaranteed copper. If Pox loses next week, he is still in
Quote
copper.
unquote guaranteed copper when Pox was previously in bronze.
Oh, yes. I don't know why I said that. I'm so sorry. Pox is already in bronze. He would be guaranteed, I think 7th or 8th in the tournament either way, which does get you copper. So, but he doesn't need it. He's already in bronze. Meanwhile, Duckett still has one more chance for a win. Duckett going to be playing Turnout next week. And if Duckett wins that, he will make it to copper because he's not there yet. He's only in iron. Or actually, that's not true, because Duckett is in iron, but he already got one promotion up to copper because he beat someone higher seeded than him.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So if
Oh,
if Duckett wins next week, Duckett would actually still make bronze, I believe. You can go up twice, right? If you beat two people who are higher than you.
no, no,
No?
nope, nope.
No? Okay. You know what? This has all been a ton of misinformation. Don't listen to anything we said after the match
Listen to
ended.
what I say. I know what the rules are. Don't listen to Dells. Is what it is.
Yes, that's basically it. Um, all right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you to Opie for co-casting with me today. Uh,
Thanks for hosting.
and so coming up this weekend, so first of all, stay tuned. We will have the European time zone cast happening tomorrow afternoon. I believe that's at 10 a.m. PDT, 1 p.m. EDT, and gosh, I should know what it is in the actual European time zones, but it's at the same time it usually is on Saturday, and so for that we are going to be seeing the second half.
Fabsies versus Pofke
Yeah,
and Rio versus Cotty.
yeah, not the second half, sorry, the top half of the bracket. Those people have already gone 2-0, and whoever wins those matches tomorrow is going to be earning the spots in gold. And beyond that, we have the hazard matches coming up. The schedule graphic says TBA, but they are actually coming up tomorrow after the Tournament of Position cast. It'll be shortly after. Hazard matches are between the player. Opie, can you describe what hazard matches are, please?
Yeah, hazard matches are for the top three. Well, top two divisions now. It used to be top three, but top two divisions, Diamond and Platinum. The bottom two players, number 5 and number 6, they will play each other to see who gets automatically demoted into the division below, while the other one gets to go on and play a promotion match with the second place of the division below to see if they can keep holding on to their division. Basically, they need to win 2 in a row to hold on to their division right now.
Yeah, and so with the promotion matches, the people who placed second in both platinum and gold For some reason, there's a bronze badge instead of a gold badge. I don't know how such a glitch happened, but the players
So,
who got second in
platinum and
platinum
diamond.
sorry,
Oh,
and
oh,
well,
what?
no, gold can go up to platinum, and platinum can go up
The
to
second place is yes. Okay.
yeah, and so they'll be facing whoever
Anyways,
wins those hazard matches.
what we're
What
saying
matters
is
is there are a lot of really important matches that are going to determine who is in or out of the top divisions in the league, as well as matches to determine who makes it into gold, which is also
yeah,
one of the top divisions. So it's a
that'll
huge weekend.
that'll be between Bananaconda and Scallions, as well as Kletos and Magician. And after that, on the NA cast, we will have the actual promotion matches between second place in gold and fifth place in platinum, and second place in platinum and fifth place in diamond. I can tell you right now which ones are the second places, which would be me and not Falcon, Yarand from gold and platinum respectively, playing against the winners of the matches we were just describing.
I think we might have confused people, so I think this is a good time to call it. But the gist of it is tons of important matches in the highest divisions happening this weekend. So thank you again, everyone, for watching, and have a good evening.